chocolate. Yeah. They made a shadow version of that cookie cup. This didn't come from the theater. I just found it at Target, and I just figured it would be a good prop at the beginning of this video. So hey everybody, Wake Angel 2001 is here, and we are going to do the vlog about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. As you probably saw last night, I uploaded the short while I was still in the theater. Having just seen it, there was still the music and the credits were still playing, and there were still people milling about. I actually had to be careful when I started recording because the people behind me were discussing the mid-credits sequence, and I didn't want them. I wanted to wait for them to stop talking so that my video wouldn't have any spoilers literally in the background. So you're welcome. Don't worry, I'm going to give you all a fair warning before I start discussing said spoilers. So you can watch this video for now, although you might. Some of you who haven't had a chance to watch the movie yet are probably going to click off before it finishes, in which case I hope you come back and watch the rest of it after you've had a chance to see this movie. Alright, so the Sonic 3 was amazing. It was a great experience. Like, it was so great that I was sitting there just watching, like, I don't think a smile ever left my face, and like, when it ended, I thought that I had only seen half of it. Like, I'm like, wait, it's already over? But it's only been like, oh, wow, it's past 11 o'clock. Yeah, I watched a movie. Like, it's one of those movies that you're enjoying yourself so much that time flies. You know, time flies when you're having fun? Well, yeah, this is it. I guess, like, I can really, in order to actually talk about this movie without spoilers, I kind of have to give a brief overview of what the trilogy has been. Like, the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie, like I said before, it's a good movie. But, like, it's not a good adaptation. It's loaded with Easter eggs, don't get me wrong. Like Green Hills, Badniks, a whole bunch of stuff in the background. It's even been pointed out that in that bar scene where Sonic is messing around, the proprietor of the bar is named Amy Rose, and I think someone said that the actress who played the part was actually Amy Rose's real-life voice actress. Don't quote me on that, I didn't really fact-check, it's just something I saw on Reddit. If true, then yeah, that's quite the Easter egg. But, like, it kind of makes up an origin story for Sonic, which, remember, in the video game, Sonic has no backstory. We know nothing about Sonic. I mean, like, Sega has actually come out and said that Sonic the Hedgehog is canonically homeless. So we literally don't know where he's from, if he's even from anywhere. So, yeah, like, any backstory we know about Sonic comes from secondary media. Like Archie Sonic has his origins, Saturday Morning Sonic has his origins, Boom, Prime, Adventures, all the other Sonics have their own origin stories which are unrelated to each other. And Movie Sonic is no exception. That movie mostly existed just to set up the characters, and it does a great job doing so. I have to admit, like, giving the voice acting role for Sonic to Ben Schwartz and not some random celebrity was a brilliant idea, because Ben is a skilled voice actor who has done characters that are very much like Sonic in the past, so it's something that was perfectly within his wheelhouse. And, like, I guess the celebrity casting will be Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik for the first movie, but honestly, look deep inside of your hearts. Can you honestly think that there would be any guy who would do the bombastic caricature that is Dr. Eggman or Robotnik other than Jim Carrey? I know, you can probably think of a few more actors out there that look more like Robotnik, but can you actually think of anyone who would have acted the part as well as him? I don't think so. So, like, the first movie was mostly about setup of the characters. So, like, the real adaptation, that started coming in the second movie. And, like, you gotta say, like, the second movie, like, there were some things about it that I didn't appreciate at the time. Like, for one thing, I didn't realize back then that, because, you know, most of his heyday was when I was really young, but Jim Carrey actually doesn't like doing sequels. But he did. He did the sequel. He played Dr. Robotnik a second time in Sonic 2. And also, Jim Carrey was planning on retiring as an actor but decided to postpone his retirement so he could continue to play Dr. Robotnik. So, like, he just kind of broke two major taboos. He postponed his retirement, and he acted in sequels, which he normally doesn't like doing. Like, wow, Jim Carrey, that's great integrity, and it really goes to show just how passionate he was for this role. So, you know, all power to him. I love the fact that he did that. And, and I think that it really did pay dividends, because, again, like, he did a great job. Could you say that since he's retired from other acting roles, that he is officially, at this point, just a professional Dr. Robotnik? Because, like, it's literally the only thing he's going to do now. I mean, I don't know if they'll get him back for more sequels. I'll get into that later on, but I think there's room. Again, that's for later. But yeah, like, just in case you think I'm being hypocritical, like, they did get celebrities to voice other characters. Like they got Ben Schwartz, veteran voice actor, to do Sonic. They got Colleen O'Shaughnessy, actual Tails voice actor, to do Tails in the movies. But then they got Idris Elba to do Knuckles. And honestly, Idris Elba, like, at first I say, oh, so they actually are just doing celebrity casting. But like, then you see, like, Idris Elba really is like a method actor who really wants to get into his roles. To the point that when he's doing his voice recordings in the booth, he's wearing the big Knuckles boxing gloves just so he can be in character. Okay, gotta admit, yeah, Idris Elba, he was a pretty good choice, even if he's not really a known voice actor. At least he's into it, you know? Like, I want someone who's into this and not just providing a popular celebrity voice to get people interested in the movie. And I could say the exact same thing for Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves, like, voicing Shadow, yeah, like, a lot of people did the whole John Wick Shadow thing, like, but I am very disappointed in you, Internet. Where's all the Neo references? Come on, like, you gotta admit, there are a lot of parallels between Neo and Shadow 2, like with a fighting style that breaks the laws of physics, or how about the fact that he spent most of his life asleep in a glass tube that he broke free from to get vengeance upon those who sealed him away? Come on, like, that's Matrix-y. Like, oh look, he has a gun in his hand for one scene. Totally John Wick the Hedgehog. Like, come on, like, when he's fighting with Sonic, he even does some of the same martial arts moves that I see Neo do. Like, when Sonic goes to punch him, he blocks him with the back of his hands. Exactly like, you know, going, upgrades. Like, honestly, there were references to the Matrix here that the internet just did not catch, and I am very disappointed in you people. Got so distracted by the John Wick thing that you didn't do the Matrix thing. Alright. But this movie, like, the second movie, it did a much better job of adapting material from the games. Like, we had references to stages like Labyrinth Zone, we had the Death Egg Robot, which resembled the Death Egg Robot from Sonic and Knuckles, and they even had the first time it felt damage, like when Knuckles punched it in the hand. Ooh, I felt that. In the video game, that boss, the first phase of it, is attacking its fingers. So, you know, kudos for them for getting that reference. They even did the nose flamethrower, which, again, accurate to the games. And, like, so, like, the second movie, like, it was kind of an adaptation, not of one specific game, but just in general, the vibe of the entire Genesis era. Like, you could pick out little pieces from Sonic, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic and Knuckles, and amalgamate all that, and loosely adapted. Basically, that's what the second movie was. It was somewhat an adaptation of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but there were bits of enough of everything that truly felt like they were just adapting the video games from the Genesis era. This movie is very much of an adaptation of the Dreamcast era. It's very much not an exact replica of Sonic Adventure 2, let's get past that, but it's a loose adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2's plot with just a little bit of the Shadow the Hedgehog 2005 game thrown in. So, like, again, we're getting a good adaptation with, you know, great characters. And, you know, I feel that this was great. Alright, I guess now I'm going to have to actually start discussing plot stuff, so spoilers ahead. For those of you who haven't seen the movie, I will see you when you decide to catch this video later. Okay, so let's give them a second to reach their pause buttons or X out their tabs. Alright, so let's get into this. The movie starts with a scene of Shadow breaking out of his containment unit in the lab. And I gotta say, there's one thing that caught my eye here. The security guards that were watching over the tube, like, they had a toy of one of the GUN robots on the desk. I want that toy. Yeah, so later on in the movie, like Gerald Robotnik, I'm gonna call him Professor Robotnik from now on, so I'm not saying Gerald all the time. So if I say Professor, then you know who I'm talking about. Professor Robotnik is, he activates the defenses for the Eclipse Cannon, and all these robots come out, and they just look like the robots from Sonic Adventure 2 that are made by Guns robots, not Badniks. I want action figures of them. They look awesome. They're way too cool and toyetic to not have a toy of. Hopefully a future wave, hopefully we don't stop at just 2 or 3 waves of the toy line, we get a 4th or 5th wave, and the GUN robots are in one of those waves. I want a GUN robot! Those things look awesome, and we must have toys of them. Then Shadow comes in, he basically just does a whole bunch of reference animations from the Shadow the Hedgehog game. Although, there is one thing, I feel like at some point, they feel like Shadow can just fly. Shadow's basic attack is to use his teleportation to get into someone's blind spot, where he then launches an attack. Like when he used Chaos Control against Silver to spin kick him in the back of the head in Sonic 2006. Basically, that's what he likes to do against GUN soldiers. He teleports behind them, he kicks or punches them, and then he teleports behind the next one. But, every time he comes out of his teleportation, it's like he's floating in the air for a second. He's very floaty. He's on, it's not slow motion. He's just, hanging suspended in the air for a moment. If they had the rockets in his shoes going to show that he was propelling himself up with them, then I would have accepted it. But, I feel like someone just decided that Shadow can just freely float in the air for a few seconds by choice. That fell off. The sequences are cool, but just that one little part of the effect, it fell off. Alright. So then we get, going through this real fast, we get, Shadow starts attacking Tokyo, because, Prison Island, yes, they do reference it as Prison Island, is in Japan. So GUN asks Sonic and the gang to see if they can help fight him off. So they go there, we get our action sequence. Surprising that the action sequence from the trailer, your colorful bunch, is actually so early in the movie. It's practically the opening scene. And we get everything. We get driving up the side of Tokyo Tower, we get the Akira slide, we get Sonic, and we get a really good action sequence. And that's what's followed by the scene in the Chow Garden, where the GUN commander, I feel like the GUN commander from the movies is kind of an amalgamation of different characters. I feel like there's a little bit of Abraham Tower in him, but he doesn't quite sync up with Abraham Tower. Remember, Abraham Tower would be younger, he would be Maria's age, because he was a kid in the arc, and then he's just grown up now. I feel this guy, he was already, he was a young man, but he was an adult back then, so, he'd be, in his 70s or early 80s by now. Because, apparently, we're setting, this was 1974, because 50 years from 2024, so 1974. And I'm getting a little rambly, but yeah, Abraham Tower is injured in the attack on the Chow Garden, and he entrusts Sonic with a key to the ultimate weapon, because he doesn't want anyone else to get their hands on it. And a part of me just wonders, okay, you have this key to a world-destroying weapon. Okay, now the weapon can never be used. Yeah, I may have just destroyed it, but you know what? You guys are military guys, so you can probably recreate the key for yourselves later on if you ever actually need to use the weapon, but for now, no one else can. And that's how it should have ended. but yeah, let's get past that. basically, the signal that awoke Shadow and sent the drones, the Eggman drones, to attack the Chow Garden, it wasn't sent by Eggman. Eggman's been he's been living in a giant crab neck, watching bad Mexican soap operas and eating cake, getting fat. Until he finds out that someone's been activating his drones, and he decides he has his ego back. This is where he puts on his uniform again. It's covered in patches because it's probably full of holes and burn marks from when the Death Egg robot blew up around him. And he, of course, takes Agent Stone's shirt. Agent Stone, his totally heterosexual life partner that's just been living with him for the past couple of years, I guess, as just, you know, upping him out. I like the fact that after he rips off Agent Stone's shirt so that he can use it to make extensions on his uniform, Agent Stone just puts his tie back on and goes to the next scene like bare chested, like he has his blazer on but no shirt on underneath. Because like, hey, I got pecs, I got abs. Sure, I'm gonna show those off. I'll just throw on a tie so that I have some dignity. But yeah, like if any of you are if any of you out there are like Stone Botnick shippers, like yeah, like you probably got some good meal here. So you know, like they do an infiltration. I was wondering how they're going to do the Space Colony arc. The answer is they don't. Like the research on Shadow was done in a secret underground facility, and the tragic accident that caused Maria to die, like. I love how when they introduce Maria, she comes in roller skating. She plays a few notes of Live and Learn on an acoustic guitar. Almost made me squee in the audience, but I promised my mother that I would keep myself down. I heard other people squeeing around me though, but I managed to keep myself in check. But yeah, like they never really referenced the fact that she was terminally ill. She was just living on the base with her grandfather. And there was an explosion that caused her to die, and Shadow is really pissed off, and he wants revenge for that. So there's an infiltration. The heroes are all taken out, and Dr. Robotnik makes it to the end where he finds his grandfather. Now, I'm a little bit disappointed that this is just Gerald Robotnik. Because I look pretty good for 110, don't I? Like, oh, that's the explanation? He's just 110 and he's been around all this time? I was kind of hoping that it was a lifelike robot he made to carry on his will, or maybe it was Black Doom puppeting him from behind the scenes, but nope, he's just Professor Robotnik, 110 years old. Sure, why not? Looks pretty spry for a guy his age, but the fact that he's not a corpse, with like anyone who is physically capable of moving under their own power at that age is spry for their age. But yeah, like Robotnik and Professor Robotnik bond as grandfather and grandson. They have this whole little VR sequence. Agent Stone feels like he's being pushed to the background because Eggman is really happy to have a family. For all his bluster about not caring about having family, when he finally does get one, he's like, yay. So then there's then we have the scene in London, which is basically a vault heist scene. Basically, they even make a reference to having Tom Cruise do it. But yeah, like we get a really cool sequence there where they're dancing in where the two Robotniks dance in the laser rooms because they have these spandex outfits that reflect away the lasers, and it makes you wonder, like, hey, Robotniks, maybe you want to be a little bit more careful because those spandex suits of yours, they don't have any head protection. Imagine, like, haha, look at me, I'm just deflecting the lasers everywhere, and then you go to do your dip as you're dancing, and one of the lasers just cuts the top of your head off. Like, but yeah, like, it's a fun sequence seeing them dance around, especially because it's Jim Carrey acting against himself. I made a joke about the second movie that, like, 80% of the shooting was basically Jim Carrey in front of a green screen. That, I gotta admit, that is pretty much what this movie is too, although we do have more characters, like with the gun commander injured, his replacement is a woman who's very suspicious of aliens and doesn't like Sonic and his team. So Sonic, like, this is why they're doing the infiltration, because Sonic is afraid, like, if he tries to confront her, all they'll do is confiscate the key, and then they'll be fighting GUN and Robotnik. So, like, they wise up and, like, no, let's just keep this with us. And I like how Tom and Maddie actually infiltrate GUN. Like the trailers tricked us into thinking that Maddie's sister and her husband are still gonna be part of this, but no, it's just Tom and Maddie disguising themselves. Although I do gotta say, I like the fact that they worked things out and stayed married, because like the whole wedding scene from the second movie, it was supposed to just be a scam to try and get them to lure Sonic out, and she was pissed off at that. But apparently, they actually got married, and she actually joined Gun. So, yay, happy ending for them, right? So they make it to the headquarters. We get the gravity plate scene. Like there's tiles that hold some people onto the ground so they can't move, and others that make them float in the air so they can't move. This would have been a cool scene to show that Sonic can jump off air, like to do his double jump move from the adventure games, but they don't really do that. They just have him, like, when he's stuck in the gravity plate, he overcomes it with his spin dash move to save his family from falling debris, because the gravity plates are pulling pieces from the ceiling down. And then we move on, and we find out ultimately that Gerald Robotnik never actually wanted world conquest or anything. He wanted to destroy the world. So he used the most powerful weapon ever engineered, the Eclipse Cannon, and he has every intention of just using it to blast the planet and reduce the whole thing to lifeless rubble. He even says that he doesn't really care about his other grandson because he's no Maria. Like, this is a profoundly broken man who is only pretending to ever like his own grandson so he could use his resources to get his revenge. Like, the world was basically dead as soon as my granddaughter was no longer in it. Which, admittedly, that's accurate to the games. Like, he went insane. Like, we find out, thanks to Sonic X Shadow Generations, that, like, Gerald had 2 sons. He had other family. But, no, like, after Maria's death, he just went insane. Oh, and by the way, a lot of people are wondering, like, is the audience going to cheer when they see Maria get shot? The fact is, she doesn't get shot. Gerald is trying to escape with Maria and Shadow, and they're being pursued, and the young version of the GUN commander, he sees that they're going to take a shot at Shadow, and says, "There's children in the way!" So he pushes him, which causes the shot to go stray, and instead of hitting anybody directly, it hits a container filled with some stored chaos energy. That's what caused the explosion, and although Shadow and the Professor survive, Maria's killed by that explosion. So, that's how Maria dies in this movie. Like, it is GUN's fault, but, like, she isn't explicitly shot through the heart, like some people implied happens in, like, the prequel animation for Sonic X Shadow. Just throwing that out there. Also, in stealing the key from Sonic, Tom has to disguise himself as the GUN commander to get the key from his replacement, and Shadow mistakes him for the commander and, like, punches him full on in the chest, which knocks him unconscious, and, like, it's a pretty bad injury. He's out until the end of the movie, and, like, Sonic, like, he's pissed at this. Like, what did you do? So, like, he's filled with rage, so, they break the ultimate taboo, and they get the Master Emerald from Wade, because, I don't dislike Wade, but when you use him sparingly, like, have him come in for one little comedy beat, that's when he's best. So they use him as his best. Like, he comes in, he makes his comedy beat, the comedy beat's over, and we don't see him again. That's great. Like, hooray for Wade having his one joke and leaving on the high note, rather than making half the show about him. And then what follows is, like, you get the action scene. You have Sonic go up as Super Sonic into the Eclipse Cannon, where he grabs Shadow. They have Shadow manages to use Matrix moves to get Sonic to drop the emeralds temporarily, and they both power up, and we have a super fight, which which ends up on the moon, and it's awesome. And then you have Sonic and Shadow just sitting and having a heart-to-heart on the moon. You would say, like, hey, how are they doing that in the moon? They can't breathe in space. Like, hello, Sonic the Hedgehog can breathe in space. Like, every single game has had Sonic the Hedgehog go to space at some point, and, like, yeah, like, Sonic can just be in space. That's a thing he can do. He can drown in water, but, you know, being in space, that's not a big deal. Hey, I didn't make the rules, it's just the rules. That's when they realize, oh, hey, you know, maybe we shouldn't be blowing up the planet. And even Robotnik tries to fight his grandfather, like, using the suits they have, which are able to make weapons. Like Gerald goes with the big scorpion thing, which I swear it's either a reference to the Scorpion boss from Sonic Spinball or the Scorpion attack mode that Vector Man can do. I don't know which. It's probably the Spinball one, but he turns into a Scorpion, and Eggman turns into a praying mantis, which might be a reference to one of the Badniks, which is a praying mantis. I forget its name. Slicer, the one from Metropolis Zone. And they fight, and they fight, and they fight, and it's just it's like, you don't want me to just sum up action beats, because they're action beats. They're really fun to watch, but not really fun to have described to you. And like the way that Professor Gerald dies is pretty freaking hardcore. Like he's launched up into the air by getting stabbed in the butt by Supersonic's quill, where he goes into the spinning chaos energy and is vaporized. Professor Gerald is just freaking vaporized. Like, damn, that was pretty hardcore for a kids movie. The dude just it happens on screen. We watch him fly up into the flailing energy and he's just instantaneously reduced to ash. Like, they don't cut away from it. He doesn't like go into a something where you see him like get dragged away. He just goes up there and instantly gone. Like, wow. So they can't stop the Eclipse Cannon from firing, but Supersonic and Super Shadow are holding back the beam so it won't hit the Earth. And Supersonic, he loses his focus and he loses his super form just as they start to turn the beam away. Sonic loses his form and starts to fall. Just in time for the beam to miss the Earth. Like, everyone on Earth sees the beam fly by, just like when they saw the test shot in Sonic Adventure 2. And the beam like, alright, we missed the Earth! And then it cuts the moon in half and like, ooh, look what you did, Tails. And then, you know, like, it turns out that Shadow is still in his super form. It turns out that the Eclipse Cannon is overloading and it's going to blow up. And when it blows up, it'll devastate the planet's environment because it's too close to the atmosphere. So Shadow tells Dr. Eggman to keep the reactor stable for as long as he can. And he'll push it up into a higher orbit so when it blows up, it won't affect the Earth. And, you know, like, Robotnik live streams this to the world. Like, it's kind of funny. First, the moon gets blown up, and then Robotnik live streams to the world. Like, my name is Dr. Eggman, the world's greatest scientist, and soon to be the world's greatest ruler. But this time, like, if I can't rule the world, I might as well save it. So, like, he makes his apologies to Agent Stone for treating him so badly, and that he really did consider him to be a friend. Which Agent Stone on the ground, like, And then, the place blows up, and, you know, it's a tragic ending, like, wow, Robotnik and Shadow actually sacrifice themselves, blah, blah, blah. The movie ends on a good beat. Everyone's happy. Tom recovers. And then we go on to the post-credit sequence, and the mid-credit sequence, the post-credit sequence is simple. There's a crater on the ground. In the ground, you see one of Shadow's inhibitor rings, and then Shadow bends down to pick it up. Yes, Shadow survives. And you know what? I think there's room for Dr. Eggman to have survived too. You could say that Shadow teleported himself into the reactor, grabbed Dr. Eggman, and then teleported them both to safety. Or you can even say that at the last moment, Dr. Eggman commanded his egg drones, because there were a bunch of egg drones in the Eclipse Cannon, to protect him and take him back to Earth. So, like, you have room for Dr. Eggman to have survived if you want him to. But even if he didn't, this is a good end for his arc. Like, the man who had pure disdain for the world ends up in the end sacrificing himself to save it. You know, it's a good arc for him. But the mid-credit sequence, okay, there's some credit sequences that just blew everyone's mind. Like at the end of Iron Man, when Nick Fury walks up to Tony Stark and says, "I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative," that made everyone blow their shit. At the end of the Avengers movie, when it says to attempt to attack them is to court death, and they zoom in on Thanos' face, that made everyone lose their shit. But let me tell you something. I have never heard an audience go as wild for a mid/post-credit sequence as the reveal in this one. Sonic, having played a racing game against Tails and Knuckles, finds that he accidentally overran the finish line and ended up in New York. Like, he's in the outskirts of New York. Where he gets attacked by Metal Sonic. And like, oh my god, Metal Sonic looks amazing. He looks like he stepped straight out of the video games. Like, I know a lot of people have been trying to do fan interpretations of what Metal Sonic would look like in the movieverse based off of the Egg Drone designs, but like, this Metal Sonic looks he just looks like somebody put realistic textures on the game model. He's that accurate. And like, of course, Metal Sonic's design is sacrosanct. Like, Metal Sonic has never really had his design changed except for proportions. Like, classic Metal Sonic, modern Metal Sonic, even Boom Metal Sonic all have the same design elements. The only thing they ever changed was, like, you know, the proportions of the body to match the aesthetic of whatever game they put him in. But, like, this looks like it stepped straight out of the games. It attacks Sonic, but Sonic dodges, and he says, "If you're gonna fire at the fastest thing alive, you better not miss." So he fights it, and it gets back up, and that's when a hammer smashes it. Like, a whole bunch of them start to appear everywhere, and then a hammer smashes all of them, and we get the reveal of Amy Rose. And holy shit, did everybody blow their tops at the reveal of Amy Rose. Like, holy crap. Again, like the Nick Fury reveal, the Thanos reveal, nothing compared to the Amy Rose reveal. Like, that blew everyone's minds. The screaming from the audience was incomparable. But holy crap, Amy Rose. And you know what? In the video games, there's only one Metal Sonic. Like, I think it's heavily implied that there can only be one Metal Sonic. Like Robotnik can't mass-produce these things. Like, Eggman can't do it. So the fact that there's an army of them, like, what does that mean? Now, like, the fact that we're going to have Amy Rose and Metal Sonic, that implies that the next Sonic movie might be referencing Sonic CD. We might be going into Sonic CD area, like, maybe they'll do an adaptation of the Little Planet, or perhaps the Time Stones. Like, we could do something like that. But the fact that there's a whole bunch of Metal Sonics instead of just one, that makes me think, could they be doing an adaptation from Sonic the Comic? Could this be the Brotherhood of Metallics? Like, I don't know much about Sonic the Comic. In fact, the name of the faction, the Brotherhood of Metallics, is pretty much all I know about it. But, like, an army of Metal Sonics. Is that what we're doing? But anyway, at that point, I'm just speculating on what the next movie is going to be. But, you know what? This has been a great experience. This has been a fantastic movie trilogy, and, like, it really has done a great job. Like, the first movie crawled so that the second and third could run. These movies are just great. If you haven't seen it yet, why did you watch to the end of this video? I just ruined it for you. But, like, everybody out there, I bet you guys who saw this movie, you loved it, didn't you? So, yes. It's great to see that we have a genuinely fantastic movie trilogy about Sonic the Hedgehog, and I am absolutely there for more of it. So, Jim Carrey, maybe you could postpone your retirement a little bit longer to have at least a cameo in the next one? Or, we could have, like, the Brotherhood of Metallics, maybe some other villains. Heck, maybe we can have the Battle Cuckoos. Maybe they're the ones that made Metal Sonic in this continuity. Who knows? Anyway, thank you all for watching me for this long. This is Wake Angel 2001 signing off.